So, my babies, now, script for now is the opposite of good is bad, and then not acceptable, not evil. Evil and our virtues are in a different scope. So, I think that's the phase where I was debating good. The word good literally means adequate, acceptable. The opposite of good, which means acceptable and adequate, is naturally, what is it? Unacceptable, not adequate. So it's not evil because like there's always this kind of like again maybe my exposure to the world because I'm in a third world country of Lebanon and there are difference in culture when and specifically in the language because like the words in Arabic are a lot more intricate in how they actually like on what they point to. In English, we kind of like add different like I don't know if we call them conjunctions. Like, I am going to the house, right? I am going to the house. These are basically like just like the verbs and the objects and the adjectives and the not the objects, the nouns. All of them are kind of like assisting each other in order to point in different directions. But in Arabic, it's basically رايح al bayt. It's like three words. And it's just the verb itself kind of like has multiple appendages that kind of like points to different things. And we use different words because we look at the world in a different way. But so we don't necessarily have, do we have good? I don't think we have good in Arabic the way English good is. Because I think good in Arabic is something that's given, that's productive, that's open. While good in English means like, okay, I'm fine with that. I accept it. Let me actually look for the word with you guys. What does good mean in Arabic? S- I'm not thinking about the word, I'm thinking of vibe. Three things to say good in Arabic. Three. Good means جيد, and so we're looking at it as جيد, but جيد is a high positive. It's not average. The true meaning of good in English is acceptable and adequate. So, like, better for us in English is basically very good is different than better, right? Or best. And we have جيد and we have جيد جدا, which is like very basically good, the equivalent of very good. But again, جيد doesn't mean like صار جيد بارع وقود. What does جيد mean? جيد doesn't mean adequate. It means yes, it's an accomplishment. But anyways, the idea behind it is basically like the battle between good and evil. And that's basically like what I receive from the world, especially when it comes to media. There's this basically interaction. It's like good versus evil. And very unfair because like evil and virtuous are in a completely different scope. That's literally what I wrote here. And so I'm not really trying to discuss evil and virtuous. I think both of them are concepts that are way too subjective. When it comes to good and bad, I think we can kind of like, there might be a standard that we could use. when it comes to evil and virtuous, ev- yeah, I'm super fucking sorry because the same people that basically worship Buddha are also people that are murdering people in some parts of Asia under the name of Buddha. It's funny because, like, again, like, don't look at the messenger, look at the message. But what we end up doing as human beings is always idolizing. So for them, murder has become like a virtuous act. It's not a good act, it's a virtuous act. For whatever reason, I don't fucking care. My morals or my morality doesn't really distinguish between good and evil. It distinguishes between like what I'm willing to do, what I'm not willing to do, what I'm willing to accept, what I'm not willing to accept. I've met a lot of people that are not necessarily good when I was in Africa, or that were not necessarily virtuous. But at one point in their life, they were very basically, they were warmongers, or people that like had hundreds and thousands of people under them, and they went and they fought in wars. They slaughtered people and they did all kinds of shit just because it's either that or farming. But when I met them, they were heads of churches, preachers, farmers who loved their family. You can never actually decide what's good and evil or what the people that you're talking with are because it's very subjective. But good and bad actually just like a plant, taking care of a plant would allow the plant to grow better. Not taking care of the plant will make the plant die. Taking care of the plant is good. Watering the plant, monitoring the soil, giving the plant attention twice, 3 times a day to make sure like it's getting enough sunlight and all that shit. Better. Watering the plant once a week, negligence. Bad. Not watering it at all, putting it in a corner, not giving it any sunlight. Very bad, right? Even horrible. But that I I I, I still don't feel like it's fair to kind of also because good and bad could be objective because we could actually see. But again, like who's to say killing the plant is not a good thing? Because ultimately, like there are some plants that poison the soil. I was reading an article the other day, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, about a certain plant in like London that grows on its own, and the bigger problem, it poisons the soil. So nothing grows there for like 6, 7, 10, 20 years or something. And it basically grows on the hillsides. So effectively, it just basically makes oxygen. But everything else around it kind of like has to die. So pulling that plant under from under the ground and kind of like burning the soil under it becomes a good thing. So so action in itself is also subjective because the action that you would take towards something is always determined by whether that something is looked upon as good or bad. Maybe the whole point of this is just to kind of like make a distinct separation between like, bad is not acceptable. It's not something personalized. It's not something that targets you. It targets basically your actions. And your actions definitely reflect who you are. Or maybe your actions kind of like make a statement about why you're doing what you're doing more than it is reflect who you are. That probably eliminates the subjectivity, right? Because if I go to a person that's crying and I give them a tissue, my actions are expressing why I am what how I am or what kind of person I am. Or you go to somebody that's crying and they go like pick it up or slap them in the face so that they can quiet down or something, then that's also like an expression, probably more from the bad side than the good side, right? It's like acceptable behaviors to give them a tissue. Buying them lunch is probably just overkill. But would we consider that good? I have no idea. So good and bad are basically the effects of our actions and how they reflect on what we're trying to do. Because they always come with an outcome. But evil and virtuous, you could allocate an outcome, but those are direct expressions of who you are. They're a direct explanation. They're direct statements of who you are. So good or bad, what we're trying to do, good and virtuous, who we are, or why we are how we are. It'll click. It'll click. Maybe next video something will come up. Love you guys. It's a video.